Greetings, everyone. This is a quick run through of how to do report cards in Empower. We'll be starting at the scoring tab, which up until now has been set to score evidence. We're going to be scoring standards. Make sure your gradebook is properly set up. You'll be manually entering scores here. You may see some 2.5s or 1.5s. Those are placeholder scores that were put there by Empower based on data that was put in through scoring evidence. If you had 3 or more pieces of evidence for a specific performance indicator or GP, Empower attempts to calculate it. Its calculations are not currently configured the way we want them, so it's going to put a placeholder score in. That's going to show as a 2.5 if the evidence scored thus far was rated as proficient. It's going to show you a 1.5 if the evidence put in thus far was deemed IP or in progress, or you may just simply see a blank here, which means no scores have been translated over. Regardless, you're going to be manually entering scores. The potential scores that are relevant are here. You may see more depending on how your gradebook was set up. But the things we're looking at are P for proficient, IP for in progress. You also have the ability to click and delete scores that were put in, maybe an error. You have the option to enter student-specific comments, although I'm going to say there's a better way to do it than here. This has been glitchy. You have the ability to see the students' score histories. So, for example, they may come to you already having an IP or a 1.5. You didn't assign it. It's an historic score. You then change it, update it, amend it. That's a way to sort of go back layer by layer and see the students' scoring history. The last is a keypad to manually enter numeric scores. We're not doing that. Now, this is very much like a rubber stamp. It doesn't matter if you start with scoring students as proficient or scoring students as in progress. Select one. This will be based on your score evidence and any records you had. I'm going to first score the students that I know to be proficient. And now every time I click somewhere in the grid, if I'm not sure what I'm scoring, if I hover, it will tell me what these things are. So this is design level 4 indicator D with a brief descriptor of what that is. And like a rubber stamp, every time I click, it's going to score students as proficient because that's what I've selected. So I know these students are proficient at level 4 design indicator D. Remember, that's a very specific performance indicator. So I'm first going to score all the students that I know to be proficient. Here's a different indicator. I'm going to score all the students again that I know to be proficient. Different indicator. And then I'm going to select all the students who are in progress. Again, it's like a rubber stamp. Now, if you are one of the people that have a bazillion performance indicators, because that's how we set things up originally, you can actually filter that. This tiny little, well, it's a T, but it's a filter. If you click that, by default, it's going to show all of the standards you have ever assigned for this group. You can, if you want, only look at specific indicators to score at a time. Cuts down on the chaos of what you have to look at. Here's a 1.5 that I have to fix. Anything that's a 1.5 needs to instead be an in progress. And change it over like that. Score all of your students for all of your performance indicators. If, notice here, I have some blanks. If I truly don't have anything to assess the student for that particular performance indicator, leave it blank. Blanks are not reported on the report card. They're totally ignored. Anything you put in, though, whether it's P or IP, it is scored. Now, you could sort of en masse, I'm going to clear the filter here, could have en masse. So here is the Performing Arts Level 4 Indicator H, which I know all of my students did and were all proficient in. This little drop down, boom, they're all now proficient. I could go, but this one student, bright and shiny person, that one student was not quite it. Now, when it comes to entering comments, that's in a different area. That is up here at the reporting tab. We haven't really been in this area. You're going to go to Progress Report Comments. First, you have to select the content area. We're using, in this case, GPs. You have to select the progress period. This is for fall of 2020. The name of my course. There is a thing for setting pace. We are not using pace right now. It is a thing we'll be using in the future. Ignore pace for now. By default, like when scoring, all standards are selected, but check that just in case. If you want to make a comment for the entire group, that is, this is the ideal place to sort of put a brief summary of the work done by the students, the expectation for the course. This is all global stuff that applies to all students. And then specific comments for specific students. Needs to make more of an effort to attend virtually. Present only 65% of the time. Unlike most of the things we do in Empower, comments are not saved automatically. You do need to scroll all the way to the bottom and click Save. This actually updates the database. And in fact, if you go to close this, it's even going to remind you to make sure you've saved changes. So that's it. In scoring, make sure you are scoring standards. Make sure you're entering scores of P or IP for anything at which was assessed. If you make a mistake, you can simply overwrite it. If you want to delete it, simply click the trash can to delete. Something that's deleted is not going to show on the report card. You do have the option. This comment button does bring up another menu. It has been glitchy. I strongly recommend you do not do comments through this. You do comments through the reporting tab, progress report comments.